hello everyone, aloha sa Caribbean learners, airing live from the new capital of the Philippines, Turac City. You're tuning into CCN Broadcast Center, a virtual home for every SHS-DISS learner, where passion is the key, learning paves the way. With our division mantra, developing creativity, maximizing versatility. This is your CCN Broadcast Center. CCN Broadcast Center, a virtual home of every SHS-DISS learner.
Good afternoon, Carlos, to our dear Carlos and Carlene. I am Sir Nico from Turac National High School. This afternoon, we will understand the human person and its relationship to the society and how the society interplays in our life as a human person through our subject, disciplines and ideas in the social sciences. We are now on week 3, module 3, and our lesson for today is about the emergence of social science disciplines. Our learning competency is to explain the major events and its contribution that led to the emergence of social science disciplines. For us to easily tackle our lesson for today, we have our learning objectives as our guide. Number 1, understand the emergence of the disciplines in social science. Number 2, discover and differentiate the historical foundation of anthropology and geography. And number 3, elaborate the importance of the historical foundations of anthropology and geography. So to start our lesson, I have here a GIF and a question. So what can you say about the GIF? Oh! Wait, I can sense that you're asking me something. Sir, what is a GIF first? To answer your question, this serves for Dagdag Kaalaman! So what is a GIF? A GIF in your ICT is also called as graphic interchange format. It is a computer file that is used on the internet for sending images, especially moving images. So, our tree there is an example of a GIF. So, going back to our question, what can you say about the GIF? If you have an idea, kindly comment down below on our comment box. So, to answer our question, simply, we can say that the GIF shows a growing tree. That's as easy as that is, right? However, though the GIF does not fully let us see how the tree grew or how the tree grows, we all know that a tree grows because of different important factors. Like what? We have the richness of the soil. We also have the unbound, unlimited source of sunlight from the sun and fresh air. Wait, I can again sense that you are asking me something. Sir, why are we talking about trees and the growth of a tree wherein our subject is about social science? We should talk about society and individuals. Is there a similarity between the growth of a tree from social science? Yes, there is. What is it? Similar with social science, the development of social science has many factors. There are many important factors that shape social science. And what are those? Richness of ideas and theories of thinkers who tried to understand society, the unbound, unlimited search for truth, to understand the relationship of the human person and society, and the new perspective that we have every generation and every year. So these factors shape the development of social science, and that's why the emergence of social science disciplines came through. Last week, the social science disciplines was already introduced to you. So what are these social science disciplines? So, as an activity for us to review and to determine what are those 9 social sciences, let's have this activity. So what are you going to do? So I'll be showing you images. And what you're going to do is to describe the images. And tell me what do the images represent as a social science discipline. So let's have the first. So in our first image, you see there the terms GDP, product. If there's product, we also know that there is supply. So those terms are taught on what discipline? So if you know the answer, can you comment? The answer is correct, economics. How about the second image? So there we have the terms birth, death, and migration. So these terms are thought or discussed on one social science discipline. Correct? Demography. How about the third one? So here, we can see that there is a person interviewing a native or an indigenous people. So, why is he doing this? It's because to understand the culture of these natives. And in understanding their culture, we respect them more. Right? So, what concept does this image shows that represents a discipline in the social science? Do you know the answer? Can you comment down? The answer is anthropology. Yep. Next, how about this image? We can see here, if you're going to look at it holistically, what the image represents is an election. And the concept of election is discussed on what? Discipline. Do you know the answer? Yup, the answer is political science. And last, how about this image? In our image, we can see that it's a map of the world with the flags of the different countries. You can see there the Philippines, Russia, Ukraine, and the other countries. So what discipline is this representing? The answer is geography. Right. So those are the 5 social science disciplines. But aside from those 5, we also have sociology, his history, linguistics, and psychology. So I have a question here for you. How do these disciplines differ from one another? If you have an idea, kindly share your ideas and comment. So to answer this question, we can say that one, what makes them differ is, though they have a common goal, that is to understand the human person and the society, they have different factors that influences the relationship. Just like in anthropology, it talks about culture. In demography, population. In economics, we have the satisfaction of needs, and so on and so forth. What else? We can also say that these disciplines are different from one another through their approach in answering or giving solutions to the problems in their certain fields. And lastly, they are also different in their historical foundation, their origin, and their development in time as a discipline. Yes. And actually, this is one of the topics that we are going to discuss today. We will be discussing the historical foundation of each discipline. However, since there are 9 disciplines, that's too much for the day. That's why we are going to tackle only 2 of the 9 disciplines. So, before we discuss the historical foundation of the 2 disciplines, we will have an activity. And the activity is entitled Picture and a Word. So, what are we going to do? Or what are you going to do? I am going to show a picture or an image, and you're going to describe it in one word or one term or a term. So let's start. So, what can you say about the image? Can you describe it? Write it in our comment. Butiki? No, that's not a lizard. Is it a stone? It depends. Since we have different perspective. But if you're going to ask me, for me this is a fossil. Next. How about this one? Can you write your idea in comment? Labos? No. Yes, there's a labos one there. Monkey? A smiling monkey? An angry monkey? If you're going to ask me, I can say, I describe it as evolution. Last, how about this one? Festivity? Costume? For me, if I'm going to describe it, this is culture. So there. Let us now proceed on our discussion on the historical foundation of the 2 disciplines. Actually, the images that I've shown earlier have a connection on the discipline that we are going to discuss first. So what are those images? We have evolution, fossil, and what are the last one? Fossil, evolution, and I forgot the third one. But all those images is representing the discipline of, do you know it? What is it? It is anthropology. Yes. So we will now discuss the historical foundation of anthropology. The concept of anthropology was predated even in the ancient period through the Greek historical and philosophical writings. And one of the historians who first wrote about the concept of anthropology is Herodotus. So how did he come up with this? Because the Roman Empire sieged a war against the Persian Empire during the time of Herodotus, he observed that there is a different culture with that of the Persian to the Romans. And there, through his observation, he came up that there is a diversity of culture. In the 5th and 15th century, in the Middle Ages, since biblical scholars dominated European thinking, human existence and human diversity was explained biblically and through religion. In the 18th and 19th century, because of the rise of imperialism and the advanced states colonize the lowly and the non-advanced states or countries, there was an increased contact with other people in the world. Actually, this is what happened in our country, Philippines. How did that happen? We were actually colonized by many countries, or 3 countries. There is the Spaniards, the Japanese, and the Americans. And that's why we are also called as a multicultural individuals. And in the 19th century, because of the development of scientific acceptance of theories of biological and cultural evolution, there came the modern anthropology. Because of archaeology and Charles Darwin's theory of biological evolution, there came, before we just base our ideas on anthropology on theories. Now, because of archaeology, there are scientific and factual evidences gathered to understand the culture of the past. And all of this timeline has a great influence on the development of anthropology. So the next discipline that we are going to discuss is geography. Similar with anthropology, geography was predated even in the ancient period through the Romans. And what did they do? Through their exploration and mapping of previously known lands, they actually come up with the concept of geography. In the Middle Period, through the Arab explorers, these Arab explorers traveled the world to increase their knowledge of the world. And because of this, they contributed on geography. What are their contributions? Mathematical geography and cartography. During the Renaissance period, similar with anthropology, European nations explore unknown parts of the world. Why? For them to find raw materials for them to trade. And the good example that we have here again is our history. Why? Magellan was actually not planning to go to the Philippines, but he accidentally passed through the Philippines and anchored there. But originally, Magellan was going through the Spice Island, and that is Indonesia. Diba? Through that, the Philippines was put or placed on the map. In the modern period, because of Alexander von Humboldt's and Karl Ritter's approach of systematic and regional, there came what we call as the modern geography. And this contributed to the geography that we understand today. And because of that, there are other branches that came through because of their systematic and regional approach. We have now the physical geography, cultural geography, and even military geography. So we can say then that the importance of historical foundation to the disciplines of the social sciences is very essential, because if we know the origin and how these disciplines develop, we can understand these disciplines more. Am I correct? Yes. So, as an application, we will have a short quiz. So, to determine what are you going to do? Determine whether the statements explain the historical foundation of anthropology or geography. Write anthro if it is anthropology, and geo if it is geography. So let's start. Number 1. In the 19th century, modern take of this discipline came to being along with the development and scientific acceptance of theories of biological and cultural evolution. Is the statement explains the historical foundation of anthropology or geography, right? Anthro if anthropology, and geo if geography. Number 2. The Roman contribution to this discipline was through exploration and mapping of previously known lands. Is this anthropology or geography? Number 3. This discipline traces its roots to ancient Greek historical and philosophical writings about human nature and the organization of human society. Anthropology or geography? Number 4. In this discipline, during the Middle Period, biblical scholars dominated European thinking on questions of human origins and cultural development. And number 5, the modern period of this discipline began towards the end of the 18th century with the works of Alexander von Humboldt and Karl Ritter. So that ends our quiz. Let us now know whether you got the answers correctly. Number 1, is this anthropology or geography? Anthropology. How about number 2? This is geography. How about number 3? Number 3 is anthropology. Number 4, anthropology. And number 5, geography. Did you got all the questions right? If you got it all right, then very good. So for your assignment, you need to elaborate why there is a need to study the historical foundations of anthropology and geography. So, this is our rubrics to guide you in your answer. So that ends our session for today. But before I leave you, or before I go, I'm going to leave you a quote from Marcus Garvey. A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. This is again Sir Miko saying, always keep safe and God bless.
Philippines, hello Region 1, aloha sa Caribbean learners. Airing live from the new capital of the Philippines, Supnet City. You're tuning into CCN Broadcast Center, a virtual home for every SCC learner, where passion is key, learning paves the way. With our division mantra, developing creativity, maximizing versatility. This is your CCN Broadcast Center. CCN Broadcast Center, a virtual home of every SCC learner.